Hello, it's me again, and welcome back to my More Fun Fixing It channel. I've got rather a special one for you today. This one is a machine that you don't see very often on repair videos. In fact, I did a search on YouTube and I couldn't find any other repair videos on this machine, or this specific machine. And that's probably because it's very rare. It's a Sinclair ZX Spectrum, and you might notice that it's got some grey keys on it. But we'll get into this in a second. I just wanted to run through, because I realised I had most of the revisions to hand. So I just wanted to run through the different revisions and point out some of the differences in them. And the first one I've got here is my issue 1 from Repair Mark that he donated and made me cry with last year. Was it last year? Actually, no, it was the year before. 23, and this is an issue 1 with its hand-drawn traces, and it's a 16K issue 1. It's these two sockets here are where a daughter board can be installed to upgrade it to 48K with 32K of memory on it. There's no provision for the extra memory, as in, you look at a later revision, the extra memory sits down here and the logic chips to drive that are up here. Well, this has only got those two logic chips, which are these two here, which is IC 3 and 4. They're not marked on these boards. There's the original ULA in here, which is the 5C102E. Hello, it's Editing Lee here. I should step in at this point and help out. Benchley means well, but during recording for this he wasn't as well informed as he probably would have liked to have been, and floundered through an explanation about the different revisions of the Spectrum ULA. So to help out, I will quickly explain what's going on here. The first revision ULA, or uncommitted logic array, which we have in this issue 1, contained a major fault with memory contention I/O. This resulted in problems with the keyboard being read unreliably, amongst other things. The fix for this at the time was to fit the Cockroach mod into all of the early issue 1 computers, and even some issue 2 machines with that early ULA. If you'd like to know more about how all of this works and how the Cockroach mod fixes this, I would highly recommend watching my pal Jim's video over on Happy Little Diodes. But after you've watched this one, I'll put a link in the description. So that's the issue 1. Another way you can tell an issue 1, apart from the grey, actually this isn't an original grey keyboard. This is a remake one, which is a bit of a shame, but the case is definitely an original, because it's got this hole in the back here, which you don't get on later machines. It's not there. If you look inside, that hole lines up with the back of this variable capacitor here, so that you could change the dot clock, and I think it must have been so that you could reduce dot crawl on the fly, which is a great solution. I don't know why they took it away in later issue 2s. So this is an issue 2, and there's no hole. There is actually a small mark out there for the hole, but the hole hasn't been drilled. So I thought that was quite interesting. I've never turned this issue 1 on the whole time I've had it, and I think I'm getting towards the point where I might try that, especially after we've finished this video today. Thank you, Mark, again. The issue 2 added in the upper memory. It also added in the logic chips to drive that memory. Complete re-layout of the board. It still had the variable resistors and the variable capacitors, and the heatsink was in a similar place. Very similar heatsink arrangement to the issue 1. Some of the fixes had been incorporated. ULA had been fixed, which meant that they didn't need this Cockroach mod, but that brought about some different problems that were fixed with this Spider mod on issue 2s and above. So this actually solves that problem. When we go on to the issue 3, I believe that the issue 3 has a TR6 is here. This transistor here is replacing that transistor there, which is quite neat. There's not so many changes between 2 and 3. Well, there are quite a few changes. The major ones are the variable capacitors and resistors have gone now, and they're replaced with, I think, TR8 and 9, I think is there. So that they just set that, and you can't adjust it. The other thing is the heatsink, which was never beefy enough to dissipate all of the heat from the excess power that was coming in on the voltage regulator. That just meant that these machines, the 1 and 2, were very hot. They ran very hot, so they put an extra long heatsink, which you'll see. There's a few small changes to the DC-DC circuit between the 2 and the 3. If you want to do a DC-DC mod for the issue 2, it's just a capacitor and a resistor over here. If you want to do the DC-DC mod for an issue 3, it's a whole bunch of components that you have to change and add to it, and remove this capacitor, which I've done on a recent video. Just want to note here, for those that don't know, the DC-DC mod is basically changing the voltage conversion circuit in the earlier revision boards to bring it up to the same spec as the later issue 4. Carry on. So if we're moving on from, let's put the 2 away. There was an issue 3B. There was very minor changes to that, just to the DC-DC circuit. I think there was something to do with the way the board was made as well. But then we move on to the 4s. I've got a 4S here. There was a 4A and a 4S, and these are mostly upgrades in terms of the ULA revisions. So you could find everything up to the -7 ULA in an issue 3 and lower, and then everything up to a -6, and then the -7 was the one that was favoured in the 4s. Also, these were often made in Korea. Right, yeah, the 4S was made by Samsung. That's why this one has this green solder mask. Well, not why this one has this green solder mask, but that's how you identify it. Oh, and the biggest change to the components on this one are where TR4 and TR5 are mounted. On the 4B, or the 4A, it's similar to the 3, with TR4 and TR5 mounted here, but they added in some extra points so that you could use a different transistor for TR4. But TR4 is a transistor that takes quite a heavy load, and they needed alternatives. So that's all of the ones I have. There was also, oh no, no it's not, there's this one as well, which comes much later. This is the 6A. This one has a big change to it. It has all of the DC-DC mods incorporated, but it also has this ZX 8401. This replaces all of the logic chips from the earlier revisions. That's the biggest change on this one. Probably the most reliable. Usually get a -7 ULA in it. But there was another one. We've jumped from 4 to 6 without the 5. I don't have a 5 because they were so rare. According to Spectrum for Everyone, only 1,000 of them were made, and I have seen them for sale, and they go for crazy money, and they are out there. But the subject of today's video is this one. This is one of Paul's machines, and it is an issue 1. Now, interestingly, I don't think it has. Oh, it does have it. So you can spot the issue 1 with this hole here. So yeah, that's quite interesting that the case is original. Also, this is the original grey dead flesh keyboard. One thing to note on these is, if you have one of these, really be careful when you clean this keyboard, because with the later machines that had the blue style keys, you can pretty much do what you like with those. You can put them in the washing up and scrub them with a brush, and they just come up like new. But these ones, the printing is actually on top, and it's quite easy to rub them off. This one's in very good condition. I'm not going to clean it. But it does have a new membrane in it already, so Paul's obviously sorted that out. I've had this one for quite a while and just not got around to fixing it. So this one does have the 32K memory upgrade, which is really nice to see. But to diagnose this, I need to get rid of that. It's quite interesting that it's got LEDs on it. I wonder if this is the third-party one, or I wouldn't know how to tell the difference. But yeah, I need to get that out very carefully. Hangs loose. There we go. So what's nice on this one is that all of the chips are socketed, apart from that one down the end there, and hopefully that one's not faulty. But what that means that I can do is test all of these chips in an external RAM tester, just to make sure they're okay. But I'm just going to put it to one side for now. Here we go with the actual machine. Very similar to the one I showed you that belongs to me. Hand-drawn traces and quite a bare looking layout. Lots of space. They must have thought that they had acres of space before they started adding in more memory. Now I've gone round with my ESR tester and I've tested all of the caps and they're all within tolerance. I don't need to recap this. And if we look on the other side, there is a bodge here that's from the factory. That's joining up some pins on the keyboard connector to pins that run to, or to some wires that run down here to the ULA. It has had some work done, and there is a more modern CPU in here. There's a 2021. So it's only a couple of years old, that CPU. And there's some work that's been done down here, and this chip has been socketed. That's new as well. The ROM is from, there has no date code, but the ULA is from 1982, the 22nd week of 1982. So it's not a particularly early issue one, but it's still an issue one. Now I've done all of the initial checks that you should do, like resistance checks and checking the coil, all of that sort of thing. I'm going to just plug in my Steam Card Pro so that I can see that the voltages straight away are okay, and connect it to capture. Oh yeah, another telltale sign that this has been worked on before. It already has a composite mod, which is a bit weird to see on an issue one. My issue one, I'm probably going to just leave it connected to RF. Right, let's try switching it on, see what happens. And that's what we get. And looking on the thermal camera, ooh, the bit that's glowing there in the middle is the ULA. Nothing else is getting too warm. This CPU is almost stone cold. Something over here that's getting, the LM1889N is a little bit warm, but nothing unusual. But yeah, the ULA is warming up. It's not hot. Not hot to touch. We've got voltages and we've got activity on the address bus, but nothing on, oh actually, we've got activity on the address bus and the data bus, but nothing on screen. It doesn't look like anything is running, which I would have, especially in light of recent videos that I've done, immediately would have pointed me towards the CPU, but this is in a socket. I took it out. I also took the ROM out and put them in another machine, tested them, and they're both good. So I got my scope out and I probed around. So first of all, looking actually at the important stuff first, though, the clock. That is a good clock. We have a good clock. The data bus is a little bit messy, but that is what a data bus looks like on a ZX Spectrum, and probing all of the points on the Steam card for the data bus look normal. We've got the normal readings on things like the address bus. There's A7, there's A6, A5. Nothing looks like it's being squashed or dragged low or held high. There's A3, A2, A1 and A0. Not a problem at all. All of the other control bus signals, things like ROM, CS, that's not being used, and BUSAC. Reset is also, if I can just show you, that's off and on. Reset is a bit quick but still working. The weight is, that's active low, that's high, so that's not being held. Halt is high, so that's not active. Right, we've got read, these are the important ones, and write. Okay, these are ones that are worth remembering. These are generated, I think, by the CPU. Now on the ULA, pin 2 is the write line, which is exactly what we just saw over here, and pin 3 is the read line. Okay, and again that looks the same, but the pin 4 is WE, which I've read up on, and apparently this is a combination of the signals from read and write that then get sent off to the memory to tell it whether, you know, how to behave. And that shouldn't look like that. It's just kind of a garbled mess up high. You can also find that signal on pin 3 of any of the 4116 RAM chips, and it looks exactly the same. Everything else looks okay on the RAM chips. Again, I can't find anything like the data lines look good, and all of the address lines look good. All of the other signals look good, but that WE line, which is generated by the ULA, is bad. I suppose I should show you an example of that on a working machine. Right, that's running. I haven't got it on capture. So that's the that's pin 2, which is write. That's pin 3, which is read, and this is all right. There's a burst of activity there at the start. Oh no, is that going to be the same on the issue 1? Right, yeah, there's no activity on there at all. All right, so without the Steam card connected, I better just check that I'm not seeing things. Pin 4, yeah, there's just no activity there at all. There is on pin 3 and 2, which gives me a little bit of a dilemma. A little bit of a dilemma. I am fairly certain that all of the electrolytic capacitors on here are sound enough to make this run. I know that the CPU is good. I know that the ROM is good. I can see nothing wrong with the RAM. I can test this. I could test this. Yeah, I should test that. I'm going to test this. I'll be right back. And yes, that tests absolutely fine. No problem at all. I can't test that one without removing it. And I have a display, so it's not that. It can only really be the ULA, which is a big shame because this is the first revision ULA, and it includes this Cockroach mod fix. Now, I can replace it, but I don't have a 5C102E. I do have the next one, which is the 5C112E, which fixes this part, which would mean I have to remove the Cockroach mod, which is a bit of a shame, but I don't see any other way around it. So I'll definitely keep this and preserve it, and probably, you know, I'll keep it with the machine for whoever buys it. It's part of its history. I don't need it, I've already got one. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to take that out. That shouldn't be too difficult. Put a socket in there and replace it with the next revision, which I have in my stash O chips. So this one here is there's a -2 there, but this is the next one, and this is an 8240, so it's of a similar vintage. I also have a Zilog Z80 CPU from 8225, so that can replace this modern one in here and bring all of this back down to original dates. So I think, as nervous as I am, I'm going to have to remove this now, and I'm going to be as gentle as I can. No pins. Oh yeah, there's two wires there with no pin sticking through. I was trying to work out why, and that's because they lifted those two pins on the other side. Well, that's gone remarkably well. I haven't done any damage to the board at all. Not even touched the solder mask on any of the areas nearby it. It looks like I've got all of the solder. I'm just going to remove these two wires now. So the one that's lower down on the Cockroach mod goes to the one that's higher up on the ULA, and vice versa. So those are out of the way. I'm just going to give it a little wiggle. Yeah, some of the legs are starting to come free already. I was worried that this would be a board that would be a pig to work on, but it seems I didn't need to really worry too much. It's actually quite nice. I don't want to jinx myself. Oh yeah, that one on the earth, on the ground plane there is hard. That's got it. Yes. This is going well. Being so cautious. This side here is all free. I can feel that they want to come out. The other side, not quite yet. Oh no, it's free. Yep, the whole thing is free. Still got to be careful in case there's a trace hanging onto the bottom of one of these pins, but there we go. One quite rare ULA removed. Now I don't know whether I can just pop a socket in here, stick the ULA in, leave this in place and it will just work. I'm not sure if anything here is sitting in line with something that might cause issues. It's not going to be too difficult to remove. They are just like component legs that I can desolder and just pop this whole thing out. I think I should remove it, just in case I cause some damage. Yeah. Yeah. Right, I plan to heat some of these from the top if they've not come free, just to get them to move a bit easier. That one feels like it's already on the way. Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of solder on the top of this one. I'm going to have to use some wick. Right, that one's loose-ish now. So is that one. So is that one. Now I thought these two were free, but they're not. This one's still hanging on. There we go. The Cockroach mod is liberated as 74 LS00N. There you go, little specky. a nice new socket for you. I have tested this ULA and it does work. Fingers crossed. Still a lot of heat in this board. Oh no. Now what? Oh, that is disappointing. Okay, so I cleaned up the ULA out of the issue 1, straightened out the legs and put it into this issue 2, which I know is working. This is not in, this needs a recap and a good service, but when I switch this on, it works. The ULA is okay. Now I don't know what that means, apart from, well, I've had a look at the outputs. Compared the two outputs on these LS157s, and they both look similar to me, so I don't think it's that. The RAM all looks fine. I am really confused. I know it's not the CPU, and I know it's not the ROM, and now I know it's not the ULA. What the hell could it be? Are we going back towards the caps? I really want to change the caps. Oh, there is one cap I haven't tested actually, that's right underneath the heatsink. But these look brand new. Yeah, there's one cap here that I wasn't sure about because I haven't tested it. And I've just spotted that this cap and this cap are brand new. What on earth is going on? Am I running into somebody else's problem here? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not too sure what to do here, but I'm just going to have a look. The only work that's been done is those two caps under the heatsink seem to have been changed. So that's nice fresh solder over there. And it looks like a good job. I can't see any damage caused. A very good job, in fact. And there's some kind of corrosion around these points here where this socket's been installed on this side. So I'm just going to give that a little clean up and make sure there's no damage there. Yeah, there's nothing there. I can see it straight away, even with the naked eye. Yeah, whoever did this did a good job. I've got no doubts about that. I'm wondering if the CPU has been socketed. That doesn't look like factory solder to me. The ROM is factory, I think, but there's a little bits of damage around some of the wires on the CPU. There's a bit there, right there, and up there, a little bit there, a couple of little solder splashes, so it's possible. I don't like the flux they've used because it's left this like a residue around the pins or around the wires. There's quite a lot of solder splash down there, but nothing that would connect anything. A couple of little solder splashes in there as well, but the solder mask looks intact where they are. Oh, I think I might have found it. I wonder if anybody spotted this before I did. We're right down here. All right, okay, so the problem with working on a board that somebody else has worked on before is you don't know what mistakes they've made. And they made quite a big one here. Well, it's not a big mistake. These are the pins where the CPU was replaced, or the CPU was socketed, and you can see that they are a bit crusty around and there are a few bits of damage on the solder mask around them. That's heading up into the ROM. So yeah, that's the ROM, and they look factory. Let's go over to my soldering. This is brand new soldering. I haven't cleaned the flux off yet, but there's no damage. Tiny little bit of damage on that one, on the solder mask, but nothing terrible. Let's go back over to the CPU, and then moving down here, see if you can spot what I spot. Oh my God, what's going on here? All right, there's something missing here. So I'm going to get my multimeter out here, and I'm going to check for continuity between that wire and this pin. There is none. That's not connected. I'll push it against, or this side. It's not been soldered. That's what it should look like. Well, is that it? I wonder what that pin was. Memory request, so that would have some impact on the read and write, I would expect. But will it work? Yes! Obviously a rank and horrible display, but it hasn't got its correct ULA in, so the voltage regulators, the variable resistors and the capacitors won't be tuned to this ULA. But I know that the original ULA, which I've got in this board, is working. So I'm going to put that back in here and reinstate the Cockroach mod back in here, because that's where it belongs. Oh, if only I'd spotted that sooner. I wonder if that memory works. I think what I should do first is reinstate the ULA and its associated mod. Do a full test on this. In fact, look, we can run a test now. Oh, Retrolium. Hey, the lower memory is good. I really was at a loss. I could not see what could possibly be wrong with it. Right, so my my job is reinstate the original ULA. I'm going to leave the socket in there because it just makes more sense. It doesn't make any difference to the way this mod will be fitted. And then the next thing, oh, actually, will this should fit, no problem. Ooh, this should fit, no problem. Should we try it? I'm tempted to try it. Go on then, I'll try it. Even with the horrible display. Yep, the upper memory works as well. Marvellous. Now fortunately I've got my issue 1 here, so that I can follow exactly where the wiring goes when I want to reinstate the Cockroach mod back into this one, and exactly which pins I need to lift as well. Right, so I've got pins 40, 39, 38, 37 and 36 need to be bent up. That one. Being very careful because these have been bent up and then bent back down again. Like that. I'm not going to put it all the way in the socket yet because I want to attach these wires and then push it down, because I don't want to melt the socket underneath. The wires, like I said, crossed over, so the one from lower down goes to the top one and the one from the top goes to this one. But I'm just going to put some solder on here first, like that. And now I can push it in. Let's see what sort of image we get from that. I don't think it's going to be very good. What the... Why is that not working? Why is that not working? Is that... No, the ULA is good. I know the ULA is good. Well, the computer is running. That's quite interesting. Right, I think I must have done something wrong. Have I missed a pin? Of course, there were 2 pins. One of the pins has fallen out underneath this Cockroach mod. I'd forgotten there were 2 pins on this side, and one of them was missing. I've just soldered it back in. So I need to take that back out again and reinstate that pin. It's fallen out. It must have, the solder joint must have cracked in there. So it's where that little hole is, right there. There. There's a little hole. There's meant to be a pin in there, and that's gone. It's probably what that is. I wonder. I don't need to take it out. I can remove the solder from the top here, and then slide a pin down through, solder it on the top and the bottom. That would work much better and be less risky to all concerned. Perfect. I'm astounding myself with my own genius. That's if I can get this leg to go into this wire. Oh, go on. It's there. I can see it on this side, but it's not through. I want it to be through. It's through. These other ones are a bit long. I'm just going to snip these off a bit. Right, solder it on the top. There. Wonderful. Now, will it work? Yes! Still a horrible, disgusting green display, but it's working. It's working exactly as it should be. All I need to do now is adjust these, even tapping on these voltage regulators, on these variable resistors is making a difference. So I'm just going to turn that off for a sec. Get my tiny screwdriver and give these a spray with contact cleaner, and then turn them backwards and forwards a bit. Oh, this screwdriver's not the right size. And this one. And I can replace these if they are worn out, but they shouldn't be worn out. Now I need to connect my oscilloscope. And then give these a tune until that line is as thin as possible. too far. Perfect. That's not a bad output. I'm going to give that a test on my screen over here that you can't see, just to make sure that everything is behaving itself, because my capture device is not great. So, oh yeah, it's a decent output. Some gel bars, but this is a 43-year-old machine. It has got a new membrane, so I'm going to attach the keyboard and give it a test. Well, I'm very, very happy with that fix. I've never worked on an issue one before. It's, you know, something you don't get to see very often, an issue one, in any circumstance, let alone on your workbench. And to find a nice, simple fix, although I did go around the houses a little bit with the ULA, it did look a lot like the ULA, but I'm quite satisfied that I managed to not only fix it, but fix it with nice period correct parts. So it's got its original ULA, it's still got its lovely Cockroach mod, it's got its original ROM, I think. I can't see a date code on that, but I think that's an original ROM. It's now got a period correct ULA, CPU, and I'm really, really pleased with the result. That one has put a smile on my face. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that fix as much as I did, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, by the way, this will be up for sale. Paul will be selling this, probably on eBay, and I'll put a link. I think he's going to try and sell this one at the same time as this video comes out, and I'll put a link in the description. I'm not going to sign it because that would decrease its value, and yeah, this one is going to be for sale. So good luck if you are after a lovely issue one. If you do win this, I would say don't change the capacitors. This isn't going to be a machine that's that you will want to run over, you know, long gaming sessions. It'll be something you want to switch on occasionally and have a little play with. And the capacitors in here are fine. I've tested them. They are all within spec. Nothing is out of spec enough to warrant replacing it. So if you get this, I would say leave it as it is. You've got a lovely period correct machine in excellent condition. The newest thing in here is the membrane. So yeah, good luck on your auction bidding. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, I didn't put the screw in the middle. Oh, it's a lovely machine. I really, really like this one. I'd be begging Paul for this one if I didn't have one already. It's such a nice machine. Right, let's put it away. Maybe I'll have a look at fixing that Silver Label C64 next. I'm on a roll. Nothing can possibly go wrong.